Here's a guest we promised you on Friday, and I'm glad she's available. Laura Carney has done something that I'm just warning you right now. This is going to make you cry. Because Laura Carney found her dad's bucket list.
Yeah, it's cool.
Finished the list for her dad as a legacy of her dad. And she's written a book about it. And she joins us now. How dare you come on this show and make us cry, Laura Carney? How are you?
Hello. Hi. It's good to be here. How are you?
We are fine. Thank you for coming on. I think it's a wonderful thing you've done.
Oh, thank you so much.
A writer, magazine copy editor in New York. She published in places like the Washington Post, the AP, everywhere. And you lost your dad when?
My dad died because of a distracted driver when I was 25.
Yeah, that's brutal. Just brutal.
Wow.
And did you know your dad had a list, a bucket list?
Oh, no. We had no idea. He actually had it in his wallet. So, I only just learned that recently. They found it on him when he died. And my brother had it in a box for 13 years. And he discovered it when he bought his first house. And he was just moving. And I had just gotten married. My brother was about to get married. And so that's when we found it 13 years later.
So you see this, and your first thought could not have been, I'm going to do these things. How did you go to that point where you're going to say, I'm going to try to finish his list for them, which, of course, ends up in the book, My Father's List, How Living My Dad's Dream Set Me Free?
Actually, believe it or not, that was my first thought. I need to finish this. I know
Wow.
it sounds really strange, but, I call it a heart decision. It was one of those moments in my life where I just knew immediately I need to do this. And I had wanted to write a book for many years, actually, about my dad and about his death. And I had become a bit of an activist with distracted driving. And I thought, well, maybe this will help if there's a book out there. But I just couldn't wrap my head around how quite to do it. And I didn't have enough confidence to do it. And when I saw this list, I really did feel like this is my dad giving me chapters, because my dad was a writer, too.
Laura, what were some of the items on the list, and what was the hardest one, the most challenging part of the list to accomplish?
A lot of the list that I thought was scary ended up being quite thrilling and fun, like go skydiving a few times. I always thought it's funny that he put a few times.
Right, not just once.
Yeah. Swim the Wissover River, go sailing by myself, run 10 miles straight, surf in the Pacific. Those are the ones that scared me, but they ended up being a thrill, and I somehow did it. I was already an endurance runner, so I don't know if that helped with some of the more physical things. But I would say probably the hardest one is a tie between write and have a few novels published, because I was a magazine writer, but I had never written a book before, and a lot goes into that when you write and publish a book. And also, believe it or not, be a number one seed in a tennis tournament, which I actually already played tennis in high school, so I thought I'm going to do this one in one day. And then I got injured the first day I went out on the tennis court and ended up having to get foot surgery. So then I found that was always the case. Anytime there was a list item where I was like, a piece of cake, let me just get this thing done right here. It always ended up being one that was you need to learn, you need to eat some humble pie.
Yeah.
Well, he was working with you the whole time. That's my view of the world.
Yeah. I view it as a wedding gift. I think his spirit was helping me. It was like his guide to life.
You subtitled the book, How Living My Dad's Dream Set Me Free. Explain that.
When I got married, my parents got divorced when I was 6. And when I got married, I really was dreading that he wasn't walking me down the aisle. I still had a lot of anger about his death. I was very wrapped up in this idea of, well, what kind of wife am I going to be? Do I need to be a mom? Do we need to buy a house? Just these ideas that society gives you of what you have to do with your life. And I wanted to be a writer. I just wanted to travel the country and write. And we would tell people that, after our honeymoon, my husband's a photographer. He's like, oh, we're going to be a traveling photographer and writer couple. And people would be like, what? That's crazy. And to find my dad's list right when I did was almost like just getting this reminder of what a dreamer he was and what a free spirit he was, and that he would have been all for this idea that we had. And that's what we ended up getting to do. There's 8 different travel items on the list, and we got to follow our dreams.
Andre, you lost your dad. I lost mine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike your dad, I wasn't close to my dad. My dad was not the warm, fuzzy type. He was 40 when I was adopted. And we didn't have that kind of relationship. But to have this ability to honor him and to go back and really understand him in ways that I wouldn't have otherwise, I think it's really a miraculous tie, and it's just an incredible gift you got that you're paying forward, Laura. So I hope you're proud of yourself.
Thank you. I feel a lot of peace. He died in a way that felt almost inexplicable and meaningless to me. And I felt like I got to make things feel very meaningful and almost like I don't have to be so afraid of what might be next around the corner, which is a thing that happens when a family member has died because of a distracted driver.
Laura, this might be a cheesy question, but during any of these experiences, as you were carrying them out and thinking, wow, this is something that he wanted to do, did you feel like he was with you, like a presence?
Oh, all the time. All the time. I mean, I would even hear like a 2 or 3 word phrase in my head that was so him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And also like things would happen, like synchronicities. Things would just line up that there was no way I was making them happen. And it was, I mean, it's all in the book, but it happened enough times that it was like, oh my God, something else is at work here.
Your husband,
so cool.
Your husband, your brother must have supported this, huh?
Oh yeah, he was with me every step of the way, and making fun of me because that's what he does if something crazy happens.
Sure.
My dad's standout quality was his humor, and my brother inherited that too. So.
And what did your husband think when you did this? Because you couldn't do it, as you said, in a week.
Oh, my husband actually said it out loud before I did. You have to finish this list, which I always make sure to remind him of because he definitely ended up being my biggest helper. But, I was a little bit afraid, like I just got married. Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And instead it ended up being this thing where it really, he always says that he feels like it brought the real me to the surface because I had kind of been hiding myself under these layers of trauma and grief for so many years. So it actually he was happy to see me coming back in a way.
I don't want to soft sell the importance of the cause that you took on as well, because it may not be the centerpiece at this point, but I think it's a really important thing to talk about. Distracted driving means what? People who text, people who aren't paying attention in general. What does it mean?
Well, there's all different levels. It just depends. At some point, the cognitive load is too much to be able to drive safely. And the thing that really surprised me and actually brought me to Chicago when I was working with the National Safety Council was that, the driver who killed my father was making a phone call. She wasn't texting. She was actually just on the phone. And what happens when you do that, and it really doesn't matter if you're doing it hands-free or you're holding the phone up to your head, your vision through the windshield actually shrinks 4 times. So that's why she missed the red light. That's why she didn't see it.
That's wild.
And you don't remember it either when it happens. It's almost like a blackout effect. But, as I was doing advocacy, I just kept thinking, like, there's a story here. Like, this is a person's life, and people's hearts are touched by stories. And I just felt like, what if what I could do instead is just inspire people? Inspire people to take their lives really as valuable and a meaningful thing that you get to have. It's a gift. And my feeling now is that a person who's very intentional about the way they're living, that's not the person who's driving distracted anyway, because they value what they're doing. They want to stay alive, so they're not going to take as many chances.
Right.
It's called My Father's List. How Living My Dad's Dream Set Me Free, Laura Carney. I'm sure you'll be writing more books, swimming more rivers, jumping out of a whole bunch of planes.
Yeah, skydiving more, right?
And your dad's smiling on all of it, so God bless you.
More than once, he said.
Yeah, more than once.
That's so cool.
Very cool.
I wanted to tell your listeners there actually are signed copies at the bookseller in Chicago right now.
Okay,
good deal.
So at the bookseller specifically. Otherwise, get it wherever we get it?
By LauraCarney.com. You can find it there.
LauraCarney.com. By Laura Carney or as in B-Y?
B-Y, yep, like my byline.
All right. By Laura Carney, LauraCarney. By LauraCarney.com. You can get it there as well or go to the bookseller. Thanks for being on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Laura.
And by the way, you know what I say, Andre? Get 2 copies, maybe 3. You're careless, you guys. You'll lose one.
I have one for the upstairs, one for the downstairs.
I don't know what I'd do if I found my dad's bucket list. Item number 1 may have been get the young man to move out.
Yeah. Right. And it wouldn't say young man.
No. Get the
Bleep,
little
bleep, bleep.
Get the little prick to move out.